And welcome back to the booth here at PAX in Seattle. We're here for the World Championship. One more round to go, gentlemen. We've got the finals of one of our draft pods lined up for you in the feature match area. Let's head down there. Hello and welcome to coverage of the World Championship. We're in Seattle, Washington at PAX Prime. Let's take a look at our feature match for this round.
Martin Muller, Denmark, team captain, 2014 World Magic Cup champion.
Jacob Wilson, Canada, top pro points at large.
Two of the youngest players in the field here. Guys, we've got Martin Muller from Denmark. You heard him say it. His team won the World Magic Cup. He was the captain of that team that secured his seat here at the World Championship. And
also, his prep team has been winning this tournament so far. Team Tomo is 6-2 with the only losses coming to each other.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Good start for them.
Yeah,
and
Martin
you get a
Deng
look
is playing to win his pod. Joel Larson is doing well.
And here on the other side, we've got Jacob Wilson of Canada. And both of these players are 2-0 in their pod. So a great start to the tournament for them, and they'd love to close things out by winning their draft pod in the early stages here. Jacob Wilson is on 5 colors. That's my preferred format, or my preferred archetype here.
He's so dedicated to 5-color, he's even running Horde of Notions.
Wow, that is dedication.
One of his two Wayfarer's baubles on turn 1. That's
now this
perfect.
is my kind of fight here, by the way. we've got Wayfarer's bauble versus rampant growth. And it turns out Martin, though, didn't go quite as deep as Jacob. He's just on, we call it teamer these days, blue, red, green. And he's got all of his colors and his mana set up for the next turn, though, so he could be off to a good start. In the meantime, 3 different colors on the battlefield for Jacob Wilson.
Oh, I see which side of this fight Marshall's on. Marshall probably wants the deck with 2 Mull Drifters.
Wait, which one is it? You're correct. I just need to know who I'm rooting for here.
It's Martin Muller.
All right, go.
Jacob only has 1 Mull Drifter. 3 between the 2 of them.
Okay, well, then Jacob's still in the argument here. Now, an Aquastrand Spider on turn 4 for Milla is really not that exciting after playing a Rampant Growth, getting all of the mana online, and getting things going. Now, if we're looking at Muller's list here, what are some of the highlights, Ian, that jump out to you off the page for him? Is he ramping up into something big and scary, or is he more of a, kind of a consistent 3-color deck here?
He's consistent relative to Jacob, who's being much more adventurous. As we mentioned, the 2 Mull Drifters key cards. He's got some great removal here, actually. 2 copies of Narcolepsy, 2 copies of Tribal Flames, which are worth at least 3 points of damage in
Interestingly, both players have 2 copies of Tribal Flames in their deck.
He's got a couple copies of Algae Gariel, which isn't at its best in
Who does?
Teamer. This is
Martin's?
Martin Muller, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm on Team Martin Muller, no doubt. He's got 2 Truths and 2 Mull Drifters in this deck.
And he does
pretty
have
dreamy.
Niv Mizzet the Fire Mine. Is actually a pretty exciting thing to ramp into.
He went big. All right, so Jacob Wilson, though, with his first board-affecting play, he made it a nice one. Bestial Menace here. You can see he gets the 3/3, the 2/2, and the 1/1. They're all on the battlefield there. Meanwhile, Mull Drifter is going to attack for 2. But this is, I got to say, this is a decent start from both players now. And this could get pretty interesting. It's a Spite Bellows, the good old-fashioned way.
Full price.
It's cast as a creature, so it's going to be a 6/1 on the battlefield here. If it leaves the battlefield for any reason, it's going to do 6 damage to a creature. It's a good way to get a 2-for-1, though. Against the 1/1 Snake from Jacob Wilson, he probably wouldn't be too thrilled to trade off Spite Bellows for a Snake if he were to attack. So I expect it to stay back for a bit here. Now, Jacob is going to have to try to figure out what kind of a threat he can produce here, though, because if he puts up something worth killing, then Martin can just jam with the Spite Bellows and say, look, take 6 or lose your big threat in the Snake.
I mean, Arrest is a pretty decent answer to Spite Bellows.
That's one of the best.
White's the 1 color he doesn't have, though.
Yeah.
Etched Oracle plays a key role in decks like this as well, as it gives you something to put on the board state to help keep you alive, and it completely reloads your hand later.
Fiery
in the
Fall
game.
for Plains?
I think you're right, Randy.
And Fiery Fall for Plains and Arrest is a decent line here.
You know, I saw a little head shake there from Jacob. I think he has figured out what the line is. That he's not super thrilled about it.
Well, once
though.
you've got 6, you want to actually cast Fiery Fall, right?
Yeah.
But you're 5-color. Got to do what you got to do.
So one thing that Wilson's going to need to watch out for after arresting the Spite Bellows is Martin
Wow,
Muller
he's
actually has 2 copies of Aether Snipe in his deck. So if he draws one of those, he can bounce the Spite Bellows back to his own hand, deal 6 on the way out, and then replay it again and have a new, fresh Spite Bellows.
Whew. In the meantime, Jacob's taking a very aggressive line here. He killed both creatures that turn and actually got in there for the full 6 damage, leaving just the Mulldrifter back. And it looks like Muller's on a bit of a mana issue here. He's going to trade off for the Wolf, take 3 damage from an Elephant, and see if Jacob can keep the pressure up here. Oh, Savage Twister in hand here for Muller as well.
And that also interacts interestingly with the Spite Bellows. It sort of leaves like a time bomb on the table that can go off when the Savage Twister happens.
Yeah, now, unfortunately for Muller, you know, Jacob played Etched Oracle this turn, which is really not what you want to see when you're trying to craft a game plan around a Savage Twister. You know, at any time, Jacob can just cash that thing in now and draw 3 cards, and it just makes the Savage Twister look so much worse when Jacob has that option. Also, at the same time, Martin really doesn't have the luxury of waiting around much longer because Etched Oracle is just going to start smashing him. He's going to twist for 4.
Yep.
And like we said, here we go. Jacob Wilson just cashing in the Etched Oracle here, and also it means that Spite Bellows doesn't do anything. No creatures left to kill. But unfortunately for Martin, Jacob really forced that issue, right? He, you know, playing the Etched Oracle was just a perfect play that turn. Mulldrifter, God, this is the best feature match ever. Now, what you want to try to do if you're Martin, by the way, when you do have that Algae Gharial, is to try to set it up so that you can have a play like what he just made, but where he gets left with an 8/8 Algae Gharial after the dust settles. Unfortunately for him, his draw hasn't cooperated in that level. Jacob is just trucking right along here, though. He's drawn 5 extra cards out of Martin's turn into his turn. And Martin looks to be flooding pretty hard here, just has no play whatsoever. Wilson's going to attack for 4, dropping Martin down to 7. Oh, no, it looks like Martin might actually use a
And here,
Burst Light.
speaking of value, Marshall, here comes
No, don't do it.
here comes some value.
What am I going to see?
Oh my God, I see it.
I didn't see it. What
Don't
was
move
it?
until you see it.
What is it?
Artists.
That's not
No.
that great.
Okay, not yet.
I'm not that impressed yet.
Not yet.
I'm just going to wait for it. Passes the turn back over
Be
to
patient.
Miller.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
he didn't want to
Probably
do
playing
any
around
counter
Mana
magic.
Leak. Yeah.
It's a kind of ridiculous play. It's worth protecting by not
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And they've seen each other's
2
pools,
mana leaks
so
in Martin
Jacob
Muller's deck.
Wilson knows there's 2 mana leaks. Yeah.
Oh, God, is he going to play Artisan of Kozilek?
So here
And
comes
get back Mulldrifter?
hopefully
Ding, ding,
here
ding,
comes
ding.
the ridiculous value
Oh
that
my
we've been talking about.
Oh, Jacob.
Come on, Jacob, do
Only
it.
Jacob Wilson could take my love away from
The
the
people
double
at home
Mulldrifter, double Algae
want to
Gharial
see
deck.
He's doing this with the ability to pay for a mana leak too. This is not just Artisan for Mulldrifter. This is take a turn off to make sure you can pay for mana leak.
The thing is, he gets the Mulldrifter either way, and he's done it, drawing 2 more cards. So Jacob Wilson drew 3 from Etched Oracle and now 4 off of this one Mulldrifter this game. How is Martin supposed to keep up with this? I think the answer is he's not.
No, he's not.
And by the way, you know, the artisan, besides drawing him a couple of cards, also left with 10
It's what,
power.
a 9/7 or something?
No, it's bigger. It's a 10-9.
Goodness.
Annihilator.
Yeah, the good news for Martin is that he's got a lot of extra lands to give to the Annihilator. Unfortunately, I don't think that the Dragon Knight is going to get the job done here. And that is the game. All right, so too many lands for Martin Muller and too much value for Jacob Wilson. He picks up game 1. We'll be back right after these messages.
The battle for Zendikar coming to PAX Prime, and the Eldrazi are taking over. Join us Saturday for a special 1-hour Battle for Zendikar preview show hosted by Will Whedon and Ashley Birch, and featuring the Wizards of the Coast R&D team as they pull back the curtain on Magic's most exciting fall release ever. Ultra Pro is the place to go for all your Magic accessories. With card sleeves, deck boxes, playmats, and portfolios showing off the best Magic art, Ultra Pro is the standard in safe storage. Visit ultrapro.com for more information.
And welcome back to the feature match area here in round 3 of the World Championship. Let's take a look at what Yuya Watanabe versus Seth Manfield have going on. Now, this is the finals of a different pod here, Randy. This is
pod 1. This
pod
is our
one.
featured pod. We watched we've seen 3 drafts from this pod now. And, oh, by the way, Yuya Watanabe with his Waxmane Bakus. This is also the King of the Hill table. Yuya took King of the Hill away from Shahar in round 1 and would like to hold on to it for a while.
So you see there's already one Waxmane Baku on the table for Watanabe, and if you weren't with us earlier, you won't know that he's got 4 Waxmane Bakus in his deck.
Seth Manfield seems to be in pretty good shape, though. But he's at least spilled a bunch of token creatures onto the board. He's now gaining life equal to the number of creatures he controls for the second time in the game.
Watanabe 15, Manfield 23.
Combat.
Oh, my apologies. Watanabe actually took King of the Hill last round. It's Li Shijian who knocked off Shahar in the first round.
Well, looks like we came at the right time once again. This has been happening as we see a big attack here for Seth Manfield, who looks like he's at 23 life and quite stable, thank you very much. Sending in a whole bunch of tokens. Yeah, you know, even Waxmane Baku gets overwhelmed with a board state like this. 8 creatures attacking?
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple. Waxmane Baku's really good against a couple of large creatures, but a bunch of little ones, not as much. This is game 1, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Perhaps the waning stages of game 1 here as well, as this is a big attack here for Manfield. And his life total looks great.
Yeah, I mean, you can pick off a couple of little ones, but I can't imagine how he turns this into a Waxmane Baku game from here.
It was suggested, by the way, Randy, that Waxmane Baku is a dog made of candles. We were
Buy that.
trying to figure out what it was earlier, and I'm on board for dog made of candles. Don't know if it's true.
Watanabe 6.
All right, so Watanabe takes a big hit here, falling down to 6 life. As Seth Manfield looks to be the aggressor here, and poor Watanabe's got 3 lands in hand. He can maybe survive another turn if he burns all the key counters off of that Waxmane Baku, but
Right.
it just doesn't have a way to get at Seth Manfield's life total. Unless that's at 23. I think that's the Palaka worm up there that's under the Pillory of the Sleepless.
No, it's
Perhaps?
the 2 concave phalanxes. It's a Kavu Primarch under the.
Oh, it's a
pillory?
Primarch with the 4 counters. You're right, Randy. But yeah, the Phalanxes gained him a bunch of life and made this race effectively impossible. Yeah, this one does seem to be in twilight here as Seth Manfield's working his way down towards a victory. We're keeping a close eye on that top match as well, as you see the players are examining their opening hands here. When they're ready to go, we'll jump back up there and watch that match. I got to see that one. This is just the 2 sweetest decks battling against each other. Curious to see if... it looks like they've started. Why don't we jump back up there as I think the writing's on the wall.
Agreed.
in this one. I think that Seth is going to be able to finish off there. I mean, I'm sure there's some draws for Yuya, but Seth looks to be in the driver's seat. So let's jump back down. That's Martin Muller on the left-hand side of your screen there. Martin is playing Teamer here, which isn't a common color combination in this format.
Yeah, no, I was trying to figure out, is it like 2 and a splash? But it's kind of legitimately 3 colors.
And there's a Matka Riders. It's only a 2-2 for Jacob Wilson. Matka Riders has domain. Uh-oh, guys. Algae Gareel sighting here. This is one of my sleeper cards for the format. I actually think it's one of the best cards in the format, period.
Yeah, I don't think it's a sleeper amongst this crowd.
I agree. I think that they have seen the truth and they know. You know, Ben Stark had 2 of these at GP Vegas in his sealed pool and just ran it up with them. And, you know, this was when the format was only a week old.
Yep.
And, you know, I was talking to him at the tournament, and, you know, I had played a game with Algae Gareel and was quite impressed by it too, but I thought, maybe I just had the right matchups or whatever. And, you know, eventually we just got so excited we started calling it the truth.
Martin
Don't know
Muller
how
might
that
agree
happened.
with you. He
but-
apparently got his up to 12-12 in the first round.
Whew. An occurrence that is not as uncommon as you'd think. You know, the thing about the card is that its major weakness would be like a small death touch creature. Like, think of recent sets of Typhoid Rats.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and there aren't any. If you look through all of the cards in this set, there's no death touch. It just doesn't exist in this set. So what it means is that Algae Gareel is pretty impervious here.
Okay.
And check this out. How's that for value?
Ah.
Evoke Mold Drifter, get a counter on my Algae Gareel.
I mean, I think I'd rather have a 2-2 flyer, but
Agree.
looks like he didn't have the 5th land, so.
Make round 2.
6.
He's got 6 cards in hand as he passes back. Jacob Wilson, curious about that fact. How many cards do you have? 6.
Algae Gareel.
And did you see that? Yeah.
Triggers off the Eldrazi spawn.
That's right, Eldrazi spawn tokens, which is, you know, one of the main ways that you can get them on, because it's not that hard to set up a scenario where you can play the Gareel and then play any number of, you know, a Nest Invader, a
It's
Kozilek's
usually,
Predator.
it's usually your own spawn.
It's usually your own, yeah.
Rather than the opponent's.
But hey, opponents worked just fine. And now that the Matka Riders is up to 3-3, it can attack because Martin does not want to trade here. Uh-oh, this is big. All right, Wolfbriar Elemental, and it looks like he's got enough for 2 kickers, so that's going to give him 2 extra 2/2 wolves. So while the Algae Gareel is great at going tall, it looks like Jacob Wilson's just gone wide here, and he might be able to just start attacking through it, basically, saying, sure, pick off one of my better creatures, but I'm going to get in for a lot of damage. So this is a huge turn for Martin. And it's a reasonable play he's found. He's got an Air Servant here, which is okay. It'll, you know, it threatens to block a couple of 2/2s or whatever, but Jacob still has attacks. Back over to Wilson here, who's surveying the scene and figuring out what he wants to do. Nice hands, Jacob.
Yeah, that Elish Norn Grand Cenobite is going to be pretty awesome.
I love rare Matka Riders. It's
Yeah.
pretty much right where you want to be.
Well, we have our first pod winner.
Ah, who was it?
The Lone Wolf. Sean
Wow.
McLaren 3-0's the draft, defeating
Wow.
Martin Deng in the finals. We also, that means we have our first loss from a Team Tomo member to somebody other than a teammate.
There's Martin Muller. Young man, by the way, Martin.
He's what, 17?
17? Yeah. I was talking to Big Z, Matej Zadelkai, our coverage friend and pro player, and he said he was really impressed by Martin's play and his demeanor. He says he's looking to him to have a really strong career in Magic
Oh, jeez.
going
Scoot
down
mob.
the line. Yeah, that's Scoot Mob for you. And a Matka Riders. Again, Jacob Wilson just deploying so many threats. Now, he does have to pass here. He's decided that he doesn't have a profitable attack, so Martin hanging on by a thread here. And he still needs to do a lot. His draw step for the turn was nice, though. It was a Burst Lightning, which, you know, can
that's
act
huge.
as a combat trick here.
Well, I think he's going to want to take out that Scoot Mob before it starts growing.
You're right.
Which also makes Scariel a 4/4.
That's right. And it also shrinks the Shrewd Hatchling that he just cast as well. So a big turn for Muller. You know, we were saying he needed to do something. And he did. It looks like he still managed to cling to stability here. As Jacob looked like he was lining up a big attack in the coming turns. How big are the Matka Riders? They're 3/3 still?
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know,
Jacob's only had the one bauble, and he's mostly drawn forests, so 3 lands. 3 land types.
If he gets one more basic land type, that is punch those things up to a
Well,
healthy 4/4.
yeah, but if he has the opportunity to search for a land, I think he's going to want to fetch up his second copy of Plains.
Okay.
So he can unlock that Elishnorn Grand Cenobite, because that
And
would
just-
just
and
open
just
this
end
game.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right up.
Yeah, I mean, his hand's a little bit at odds with itself with Horde of Notions.
Right.
That is true, yeah.
But you're right, Elishnorn is so much better. He would do that for sure. It would probably win him the game on the spot too, right? I mean, it would just
Yeah, it
give
would
him
at
lethal
least
or
force
near it.
chump blocks,
Yeah.
devastating chump blocks.
By the way, just another great thing about Algae Gorille.
There's the rampant growth.
Counters, right? Yeah, you can have your Elishnorn. Still alive.
He does not go for the second
Oh,
Plains.
that surprises me.
That is very surprising to
I think
me.
the fact that it's a rampant growth, which means he comes into play tapped, gives like the island has this slight tempo advantage of it enables an attack right now by turning the riders into 4/4.
That's true. Also, if Jacob's concerned about the mana leaks that we talked about earlier, he might not
Yes.
feel comfortable just running Elishnorn. Though I have to say that, you know, Martin was the one who's a little behind here on board and mana, and with like 5 spells in his hand, he's the one who needs to use up his mana to affect the board now. He can't really afford to leave a mana leak in many scenarios.
Yeah, it's a really interesting turn.
But yeah, like you said, Randy, that does make the Matka Riders 4/4s now, and that enables attacks. And he's going to trade off
8 damage.
one of them for the Wolfbriar Elemental. Take a hit here. It's a lot of damage to hit. Now the Algae Gorille is up to 6/6 at this point, so it is surpassed what Jacob's doing as far as creature size, but creature count matters here, and Jacob's got that quite cleanly.
Only one blue source
Narcolepsy.
is a problem here for Martin Muller. He has 2 Narcolepsies in his hand, but I think can only cast 1 this turn.
So Narcolepsy is going to hit one of the Matka Riders.
Oh,
but there's
Just
the Plains.
draws it anyway. Whoa. So here's Elishnorn, and he's just going to attack with everything, and that is going to do it. Jacob Wilson with a thumping there. Martin Muller just could not get those threats out of his hand quick enough, nor could he get the answers out. A perfectly reasonable board state and draw from him, but Jacob just flooded the board with creatures and then capped out with Elishnorn. That's tough to beat in any format.
Jacob's deck is sweet. I want to go draft
Agree.
like right now, Marshall.
Yeah. How about this? We go get their decks. I'll take Martin's. I'll take one for the team.
all right.
And we'll battle with theirs.
You'll just settle for the double Muldrifter deck.
Yeah, for you. We actually got a little more magic to cover here before we get to all that. We've got, looks like Yoel Larson on the right-hand side. And who is he playing against
Eric
here?
Froelich.
This is Ifro, yeah.
Yeah, these guys are 1/1,
21,
trying to be on the right side of 500 going into the lunch break. Larson leads 1-0. 5 rusted relics in Eric's deck.
5.
5.
I like Rusty.
And an Elishnorn.
Now, I see a whole lot of tokens on the battlefield here for Yoel Larson and a Battle Grace Angel and a Scion of the Wild. It looks like his deck is sweet.
Yeah, green-white tokens is the deck that most people seem to have as their, hey, if it's open, I want it. 3 Raise the Alarm for Yoel, 2 Primarchs, 3 Scatter the Seeds, 3 Scion of the Wild. This deck does sound great.
That sounds great. Yeah, you know, I think you're right, Randy. I think that most people think that, and I think if you were to have a bunch of people that have played the format a lot rank the decks, you know, the archetypes, I think that on average this deck would actually be the number 1.
Agreed.
So we don't know any of this stuff here.
we have
Did
no.
you scry at the start of the game or anything? All right, give that a shuffle for me, please.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, he's got a Sigil Blessing to pump them all up. Got Creekwood Leech, Celestia Guild Mage. So many ways to make so many token creatures. Kozilek's Predator's in there too.
He's got a Sigil Blessing too.
Yeah. He's got a Fortify to pump them all up. One Fortify, one Sigil Blessing. That's about where you want to be.
I know some players who just call Sigil Blessing Overrun. They just refuse to read the real name of it. They're just like, I got the 2-mana instant speed Overrun.
Couple nice flyers for y'all too. Hikari and Battlegrace Angel.
So both of these players, again, are 1-1 in matches, while Larson finds himself up a game here and making a very large attack.
Oh, geez.
Fortify. So
Mortar
Ifro-
Pod
yeah, he's gonna
allows him to throw that.
Ifro's going
he
to
survive this
sacrifice
attack?
his Rusted Relic just to try to survive at all.
18.
He's going to go down to 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'd done Fortify math. He knew if there's
Yeah.
a Fortify, then I have to sack, kill a creature just to survive.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously
At 2.
a devastating attack here for Larson on Eric Froehlich's chances here. But he is still alive. Wow, he has Elish Norn in his hand. Did Eric.
Wow.
So good against Yoel Larson's deck with all, it just basically kills every creature he has. And he couldn't deploy it.
Wow.
And couldn't get there. So Yoel Larson wins his match. So he's going to escape with a 2-1
Yep.
out of the draft. A solid start to the day.
Yep.
Eric's going to have to settle for a 1-2. He's got work to do.
He does. Meanwhile, who's going to win our featured pod? It's going to be Yuya Watanabe. It's going to be Seth Manfield.
Well, taking a snapshot here, Yuya looks to be in a pretty decent spot.
Is this game 2 or game 3?
That is the question.
Game 2. Okay, so we know that Seth is up that first game. He did finish it up after we looked in.
Right. We saw Manfield getting pretty aggressive there in the first game and figured he would be able to close out. Well, you know, at first look, it looked like Yuya was in a decent spot, but now he's just drawn a card and passed a turn back after Seth Manfield played a 5-drop, Dread Drone, and now he's going to start running over. Here's another one. Uh-oh. We know he's got some big targets in his deck, does Manfield?
Does Ulamog and 2 of his Crushers.
He could be setting up for some pretty scary stuff here. Looks like Yuya has 8 lands now, but I see a pair of Waxmane Bakus in the graveyard already for Yuya as well.
Ah.
So there's been some flurries here. This isn't just the development that we see on board. There's been some action before we got here.
Man, I would love to see an Ulamog from Seth Manfield. That would just make my day.
Squash a Waxmane Baku. Come on, Seth, just one time for your fans. How much mana does he have now? 10?
11, I think.
Does
He
he have
has
11?
1 bounce land.
I
So.
count 11.
Yeah, okay. The requisite amount.
That's right.
He can't have it though, right? He wouldn't be thinking. He wouldn't do
Got
that
it.
to
He
us.
does have it.
He does? Oh, don't play with your food.
Well, I think he wants to have Apostle's Blessing up to defend it, maybe?
Yeah, that's a great point, Randy.
That's fair.
So this Nest Invader play lets him have 1 more mana next turn.
Yeah, especially playing against this color pair from Yuya. There are a number of spells that can nullify.
Yeah, he doesn't
Ulamog.
want it to get hit with like a Pillory of the Sleepless. or
Pillory of the
something like that.
Sleepless. There's also Arrest and Oblivion Ring, which, you know, in this color pair, that's a lot of answers to an indestructible creature. Because if you are playing against, you know, whatever red-green, they're not killing that. It's not dying.
That's right.
So it is actually important that he can make sure that if Yuya is sitting back on one, whatever, Oblivion Ring, Arrest
Well,
type
Watanabe
effect,
is now
he can do
all
it.
in. He's playing out his lands because of the Ghostly Changeling he's got in play, so Seth knows there's nothing in Yuya's hand.
Now he knows, yeah.
Now he knows, yeah. So he both has the mana to defend against the top deck and knows there's nothing in hand.
Do it, Seth.
Yeah, picked up a
Get-
giant pile.
Yeah.
Yuya knows what's up. He picked up 5 Eldrazi on this Eldrazi spawn on this board.
Yeah, this is not good news for Yuya Watanabe fans around the world as Seth thinks about what he wants to do, but I think we're going to see the Big Daddy show up.
And we are coming back to Zendikar this week.
Hey.
It seems fitting.
We might as well come in with a crash here, right?
We've seen the front window
He's
of the
doing
building.
it. There it is. Ulamog has hit the battlefield. Take down your
Sick.
Waxmane Baku. Don't get any candle wax on your foot there, Ulamog, or tentacle or whatever he's got. Yeah, you see the stats. You know, this is one of the most powerful creatures ever printed. You know, 11 mana. It's not cheap, but it's a 10/10 with Annihilator 4. Yeah, that is not the look of a happy person. Yuya doesn't even use that last key counter. That's kind of interesting. I guess he doesn't mind any attacks here.
But he's got the he wants his Ghostly Changeling mana.
So he can eat up a 4/1.
Yeah. Yeah, Ghostly Changeling he can get to 5/5 with those lands.
Yeah, unhappy Yuya there as he's got his arms crossed now, and he's like, well, how the heck am I going to deal with that thing?
Yeah, so I wonder, he's maybe looking for something like Death Denied or some kind of soul shift creature to get back some of the Waxmane Bakus in his graveyard. I think one of his only ways of dealing with Ulamog in the short term is just to start getting some key counters going. And he could also top deck a Pillory of the Sleepless
Yeah,
or
he's
something
thinking
along
about
those
top
lines.
decking Arrest, Pillory, something
Yeah.
like that. But he doesn't know Seth's got an Apostle's Blessing back.
Yeah, Seth has set this up so that even one top deck isn't going to get it done for Yuya. And as you said, Ian, you know, in the short term, the thing about Ulamog is it tends to live in the short term.
Yeah, that's true. Can't exactly take a couple attacks from Ulamog and live to tell about it.
Yeah, it's going to be so difficult for Yuya to actually get out of it. You know, I wonder if Death Denied is actually a better option here.
I was thinking that might be his best possible next draw.
Yeah, because he could play a Waxmane and a Waxmane and still have mana up. He needs a draw here. A big one for Yuya. Does he find
draws
it?
Plains.
Oh, he looks down, and I don't think he's really hiding it much here.
No. Well, there's an Ulamog in play on the other side. You
Yeah.
don't have a...
Now he's trying to decide, can I survive a turn or two here and try to peel? That is the question for you, Watanabe. Does seem like it's going to be difficult for him. He does play out that land. Yeah, if he finds his Death Tonight, he's going to need every bit of mana he can get, though it may even just be too late at this point. Land for Manfield. Ulamog ready to run rampant. Get that Annihilator 4 trigger going. Seth at a very comfy 17 life, just in no danger whatsoever here. Make sure you trigger. There we go.
Yep.
Pump and sack lands.
Yep.
So Yuya has the Ghostly Changeling with 1 pump activation on it. He's going to need to block something here, though. You know, he's got a little flexibility.
Pair of Canadians at 3-0 so far. Jacob
That's
Wilson
Jacob
and Sean
and Sean.
McLaren. The winner of this match will join them. Kind of like Seth Manfield's chances from here, not going to lie.
Okay. Okay. Take them.
Okay, 10 damage. Almost half of Yuya's life total here. Down to 11. Is it too late now is the question.
I mean, Yuya has whittled this board down to basically just the Ulamog.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that Apostle's Blessing, I'd feel like Yuya had a chance.
Here's a big draw for
Kami
Yuya. And he finds another Kami of Ancient Law. And that's going to do it. Seth Manfield and his new best friend Ulamog take down Yuya Watanabe and the pod. And that was our nasty pod too, Randy. That was the one with, what, 3, 4, and 5 ranked
2, 3,
players?
4, and
2,
5.
3, 4, 5, all in the same pod.
Lowest ranked player in the pod was number 13, Shahar Shenhar.
Yeah. The old back-to-back world champion. That does do it for that round, though. We might have a little chat down in the feature match here in a moment here, so we'll just hang. But Ulamog.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Go big or go home, right? It's a world championship. What are you supposed to do? Play a bunch of small, efficient creatures? No.
And it's perfect because it's Battle for Zendikar weekend here at PAX.
Yeah,
so
the timing on that.
Potentially a little sneak peek of things to come.
Yeah, and we are, here at PAX, we're in an open area here, and I see hedrons floating around, and there's tentacles or something. There's a lot of Zendikar scary type stuff here. So seeing an Ulamog actually hit the table is very fitting given the environment that we're in right now. And I'm not unhappy to see it, though I figure Yuya probably was.
Yeah.
Favorite deck that we got to see on camera?
I like Jacob Wilson's. I like the
That was
5-color.
my answer.
Well, sorry to steal it from you.
He got
but it was
you.
sweet. Horde of Notions, Muldrifter, Elish Norn, 5 colors. Looked awesome.
What about you? You can say the same answer,
Yeah,
Randy.
Jacob's deck just looked great. I definitely think that you can draft 5-color in this format, and there's so many ways that you can get paid off. People pass the Skyreach Mantas, and you get to play all your bombs. So that's definitely an archetype that's at least a lot of fun.
It looked like a lot of fun, and there was quite a few of those. All right, let's head back down to the feature match area, though, where Tim Willoughby is waiting for an interview.
Hello and welcome to the feature match area. I'm Tim Willoughby here with Seth Manfield. Now, it's the World Championship. This is obviously the biggest stage, and you've had a pretty fun ride in this draft.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it was like pack 3, and I picked up an Ulamog, and then like 12th pick, I got like an Ivuk, and I was like, all right, like I need some top end to this deck. I was basically the leader for the Modern Masters drafts format for our team, and I like love green. Specifically green-white, and I'll pair it with other colors too. So I was very happy with my deck. I just took Nest Invaders really high. I actually took Spectral Procession over Hellkite Charger, first pick, pack 1. That was like really close, but I just don't like to be red that much. So, yeah, I mean, I felt really good about it. Like, it's just has a really good late game once you get your lands, and the spawns are just like insane. So
Yeah, I mean, we saw that. I mean, obviously winning the draft against Yuya Watanabe has to be sort of the perfect cap to this draft. But prior to that, your round previously where you were stuck on a couple of lands in that matchup, tell us about that one.
sure. I mean, I was sort of struggling versus Brad because blue-white affinity is normally one of my worst matchups just because he's got flyers and he comes out really quick. And I did miss a few land drops, but my plan was basically to have like 1 or 2 big turns where like it seemed like I was losing, but basically once I started getting a bunch of tokens and then the Conclave Phalanxes were and the Palaka Worm, I think it's the best uncommon in the set, but was basically pulled me out of the hole. So yeah, he wasn't too happy about it, but
Yeah, I mean, any game where your opponent is stuck on 2 land for that long, you have to feel like you're a favorite. But I guess all of those spawn, all of that extra ways of generating virtual mana, I suppose, with Convoke, just all kind of strung it together.
yeah.
Well, congratulations. This is the end of the Modern Masters draft, but there's plenty more Modern to come at this World Championship. I'm going to send you back to the news desk now so we can see what else is going on here at the World Championship.
All right, thanks very much to Tim Willoughby. Congratulations to Seth Manfield. 24 great players for sure, but how many people would have put money on Seth Manfield being 3-0? Well, he was confident about it, team leader in that format, as you just heard, and he has delivered 3-0. Why don't we take a look then at our morning's work? 3 rounds of Modern Masters 2015 are done. Here was the feature match table that we opened with. We have Seth Manfield at 3-0. You saw him defeat Yuya Watanabe, who falls to 2-1. Li Shi-chan, who has not done well in this event in past years, I think he will be very happy with his morning's work at 2-1, and that is because Brad Nelson, who we saw talking about the blue-white archetype, which, by the way, has seemed to really struggle this morning across the 3 tables, he fell to 1-2. Mike Sigrist, our player of the year, is at 2-1. That pushes Paul Rietzel down to 1-2 with his black-red aggro deck that he didn't like an awful lot. And then one of the big stories of the morning, it's probably the story of the morning. You see 0-3, the double and reigning world champion Shahar Shenhar is at 0-3, and boy does he have a comeback and a half to do. Now, if you are new to the World Championship. You're very welcome, first of all. Thanks so much for giving us part of your Thursday wherever you are around the world. Remember, this is a 14-round tournament, which is a little shorter than a Pro Tour, which on the face of it means, of course, he has less time to catch up. But because of the 4 formats, the way this tournament has tended to work is that it's very, very hard to string maximum results in one limited format and then roll straight into a 3-1 or a 4-0 in a constructed format before a completely different limited format and a different set of limited skills comes back on Friday morning, and then again a completely different constructed format Friday afternoon. What that tends to do is seriously compress the field. Apart from the year where we saw Shota Yasuoka utterly dominate the Swiss and go riding off into the distance at 11-1, well, pretty fundamentally it gets tight, really, really tight. So you cannot rule Shahar out at 0-3, but he has handicapped himself against a stellar field. Big news there. Let's take a look at our next draft pod. And this features Sam Black. You see, Sean McLaren, there is your 3-0. That's because he defeated Martin Dang. I think the Dane will be very happy with a 2-1 start coming out of a format that a lot of players were very nervous about. Paolo Dama de Rosa, well, he's one of the 2-1s who I think will be disappointed. He had a tremendous deck, but just lost out to McLaren in the previous round. Nonetheless, 2-1 for Paolo. That pushes Sam Black, who was Blue-White Affinity, down to 1-2, and a little disappointing there. Magnus Lanto and Owen Turtonwell, they are still going at 1-1. That is a match still ongoing in terms of updates, but Alexander Hayne is a winner in the last round. He gets to 1-2, and Kentaro Yamamoto of Japan with Blue-White Artifacts, there it is again, at 0-3. Let's move on to our final draft pod for you then. All the results are in from here. And as we know, Jacob Wilson is your pace setter here from Canada. Great job by him, 3-0. That means Martin Muller, the 17-year-old World Magic Cup team captain from Denmark, is at 2-1. And Jo Larsen, who lost to Martin Muller in the middle round, that was his only loss. Larsen, 2-1. Your reigning Pro Tour champion, of course, from Pro Tour Magic Origins. Eric Froelich falls to 1-2. That means that's how Larsen got to 2-1. And 2-1 also for Steve Rubin, who you really want to keep an eye on because there are so many great names. He isn't a Hall of Famer. He's not a Pro Tour champion. He is just, as it were, a Platinum Pro who's in the top 10 in the world right now. So you should really keep an eye in the top 25 rankings. Watch out for Steve Rubin. Had a very good morning at 2-1. And then down the bottom there you see Ari Lax gets up to 1-2. And that means Antonio Del Moral Leon, a Pro Tour champion from the last year, is 0-3. So Shenhar, Yamamoto, Antonio Del Moral Leon, 0-3. Manfield, McLaren, Wilson, 3-0. That's the story of the morning. Now the players are on a 30-minute lunch break, which gives us some time to set the scene for Modern and to talk to two of the biggest names in the field. In a little while, we're going to hear from the Player of the Year, Mike Sigrist. But first, the man who has dug himself a colossal hole here on the first morning of the World Championship. Let's hear from the two-time and reigning world champion, Shahar Shenhar. Hello everyone, Rich Hagan alongside two-time world champion Shahar Shenhar. Shahar, welcome to the show. Thanks for taking time on the eve of what could be a truly historic weekend for you.
No problem.
But I guess, in a way, the history is irrelevant. For you, it has to be just one turn, one game, one match at a time.
Right.
All right, let's go back to the first one. 2013, still a teenager at that point. What were your expectations going into 2013 Worlds?
Yeah, you know, I was young. I was only with one testing partner that I haven't tested with too often. It was Tom Martell. We were good friends and still are, of course. But, you know, my expectations weren't that high. It was certainly not first place. It was around from like min to medium cash, somewhere around there. So 6 wins, 7 wins.
Okay, so you make it into the final 4. You make it to the final against Reed Duke. And you are a pretty heavy underdog, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And 2-0 down, and obviously that's pretty much what everyone's expecting. Were you still thinking that it was possible at that point?
Once I think honestly, once the final started, I just blacked out. I don't even remember going 0-2. I just remember like it finishing it and me getting the trophy.
Wow, that's extraordinary. How much difference did that make to your standing in the game? Because it's all very well being one of the best players in the world, but when you have a title like that, you are world champion. That has to make a difference with the way that people interact with you.
Yeah, it was very different. Yeah, I mean, you know, people interact with me, and now, first of all, I became a lot more popular just as a player, just for the fans. You know, I was no longer a GP champion; I was a world champion too. So, and there were a lot of GP champions and not so many world champions. So
for sure,
that certainly changed. And I mean, my teammates and all my friends, I don't think looked at me too differently. But
so, we go on to 2014. And obviously, you're the defending champion, so you have that weight of expectation. Famously, you said to Nate Holt on Walking the Plains, "Oh yeah, I'm going to win."
Yeah.
But you didn't actually mean that, did you?
No, I mean, obviously I wanted to mean that, but I mean, I was being, if I was rational and realistic, then obviously no. I'm not going to say I'm going to win at a 24-man event with tons of variants and the best players of the world. So.
Right. You mentioned Tom Martell from 2013.
Right.
Teams are an extraordinarily complex and important part of these very small, intimate events.
Yeah.
Last year, you had Tom again. You also had Josh Layton. You had Paolo Vita Rosa and Willie Adel. This year, only Paolo is back, and he's not part of your testing team. So how much of a difference is that? What have you done in terms of preparation? Who are you with?
Well, for this year, I was with EFRO, Eric Froelich. But the reason being is because, you know, there's only 24 players and everybody's friends, and you just can't have too many people in a group, because then it becomes too inbred. So I split with Paulo, and Paulo decided to test with Tiago Saporito, Strasky, I believe, and Delaman.
So is 2 enough?
Yeah, I mean, 2 is certainly enough the first time, and I think from 2 to 4 is a fine number. So.
Okay. Give me your sense, and this is hard because I'm going to ask you to show off it in a sense.
Sure.
4 formats. Where are your strengths? If the fans around the world of you, where should they be looking for you to make your move, if you like?
Probably both the limited formats.
Okay, why?
Well, I just feel confident in both the limited formats. I've drafted tons of Magic Origins, and I liked the way I was in Modern Masters. I felt confident then, and I feel confident now about it.
How different is drafting at this level, where notionally the worst player at your table is someone who's a Platinum Pro with 3 Grand Prix titles, 2 Pro Tour top 8s?
Yeah.
How different is that compared to
A
our
Moto
8-4 draft
example.
on Magic Online,
right.
for example?
I think they're actually very similarly compared to this draft here of the 24 best players, and the drafts that I do testing for the PT with Team Pantheon or Team Fireball, because they're just 7 great, fantastic players, and it's very similar to that. So I've done that a lot. That is actually how I test for the PTs and stuff. I just draft that format a lot. So I think I'm more suitable for this format than I am 8-4s on Moto.
Okay. I'd like to ask you about, in a sense, 3 different worlds that you occupy, because to me, you live in 3 different places. Number 1, tell us about your life in Israel and Jerusalem.
Well, I live with my family in Israel, in Mevaseret Zion. My whole family is there. Everybody is there. Actually, everybody is there. My grandparents are 5-minute drive. Okay. My cousins, my aunts, everyone, both sides too. And yeah, I love it there, but it is more of a vacation time for me because I don't actually live there.
Okay. And are you well known there? Like, are you very much a public figure, or even within the Magic community?
Within the Magic community, I would say yes. The Magic community isn't very large though, and it's also not exactly where I live. It's around an hour away. Okay. So the only time I'm there is like around pre-releases, or if there's like a tournament that I'm specifically interested in.
So that's in a way a lot of downtime for you, away from Magic.
For sure.
You spend a lot of your time in the US, and Boston is home now?
Boston, yeah.
Okay, so why there? What's in Boston that keeps you there?
Well, I like Boston, and I have friends there, David Shields, Matt Costa, Chase Kovac, I stay with them. Jacob Wilson lived there for a little bit.
Right. Okay, so that's sort of life number 2.
Yeah.
And then there is the life of the traveling Magic Pro. which a lot of us, we don't really see behind that curtain too often. What kind of traveler are you? Are you someone who, like a David Ochoa, who's constantly after the new experiences, the new culinary experiences, the new cultural experiences? Are you very much all business? Are you about get to the hotel room, get testing? What is the living out of a suitcase like?
I would say I'm somewhere in the middle of what you just explained. You know, the culinary experiences are fantastic, but I also do get to business when I'm here. So I'd say it's around in the middle. I do like to travel a lot and see the world, see nice things. But for example, I'm not a fan of museums. So like you're never going to see me at a museum at the end of the tournament or before.
All right. So then it's back to the Magic Online drafting. All right, fair enough. You've mentioned the family who are all there in Jerusalem, around Israel. They are very important to you, I know. Are they here again for this tournament?
Yeah, so this time around, just my dad and my brother are showing up.
Right, okay. So the core of the the support network. Final question. Last year, you famously said, yes, I'm going to win. I'm not going to put that on you this time, but if history is beckoning come Sunday, what would it mean to you to be live going into Sunday with the chance of being a 3-time world champion?
That would honestly mean the world to me. If I can get, if I have an opportunity to, to win again, that would be just amazing. I can't really explain it because I won't know the feeling of winning 3 times, but it would be absolutely amazing. There's no real words for it that I can.
It really would be magic immortality for sure, and we wish you all the very best in your trek towards that. The 2-time, maybe 3-time world champion, Shahar Shenhar. Mike Sigrist, Player of the Year. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Does it sound right? Does it sit with you well? When you think about it, how does it feel?
I mean, it feels great. It's totally unexpected. Like I said, I needed a good finish and a lot of other mediocre finishes from other people at the Pro Tour, but I got there and I'm happy about it and proud.
What does it mean moving forward? Because even though a Pro Tour champion is a very small subset of players, Player of the Year, that's Magic history and immortality forever. And you will tell the Twins' children that, Granddaddy was a Magic the Gathering Player of the Year. So do you have an eye on history? I know you've played for a long time.
I mean, I do. I follow it. I don't really, try to put myself into it. It's if it comes, it comes. But I'm just trying to play the game and have fun and, see what happens, basically.
You have a fairly unusual Magic trajectory in that a lot of us find our level relatively quickly. We start playing, we discover that we are casual players, not very good at the game, fine. Others very quickly establish that they are desperate to win at any cost. They want to get to the pros. They want to, get to the big leagues. I know you're a big sports fan. You started back in the 1990s.
I did.
And it is basically in 2014 and 2015 that you have become the Mike Sigrist that we know and love.
Yeah.
So walk us through what happened between that first pack of 4th edition and the all-new improved Mike Sigrist.
Well, back then I played, casually at my store, and I had my circle of friends, and we didn't actually go to too many major events. And I mean, I found myself through those, first 10 years of playing, win a PTQ every now and then, and I'd, go to the PT, do poorly because I never prepared, or even prepared well if I did. And I didn't take the game as seriously as I do now. It was more of just a, casual outlet, fun with my friends. And I, started playing again competitively and, really wanted to, strive to be as best as I could.
So what changed? Was it a different you at that point, or did Magic need to take a central place in your life? What shifted?
I think I just, it's hard to say. I was doing other things, my work, whatever. And when I lived in Las Vegas for about 4 years, and I moved home, and I found myself with all my old friends again. And it was actually Dave Shields who said to me, you should start playing competitively. And he started doing well. It was right after he had won a Grand Prix or something. And I said, yeah, I'll consider it. I'm having fun coming here. And it's a lot different when you're playing with your friends than when you're playing, like in Las Vegas, I would show up and I wouldn't know that many people. And, after I had my whole circle of friends, it's hard really to get a new circle of friends in a new place and all that stuff. So, I had my wife and I was spending time there with her. Then we moved home and everything was, you know, history from there.
Okay, so a lot of people at home, I think, don't know you that well. So let's toot your own horn a little bit here. What are your strengths as a Magic player? What makes you great?
I am very confident and limited. You know, draft seal deck. I think I've through all the years that even when I wasn't playing competitively, I played Magic Online, and I drafted a lot. Every day I would draft for however many years that was. Wouldn't necessarily go to competitive tournaments, but I was drafting on Moto every day.
Right. So miles on the clock.
Yes.
Is one aspect of it. You've obviously got 6 rounds of limited here, which in a sense is bad because there are more rounds of constructed.
Yeah.
But you have 2 different formats, which again, if you are a strong limited player, gives you that opportunity to perhaps score over players who are less familiar. Is there one of the limited formats that you're actively thinking, this is really a place where I can get some kind of edge on the competition?
I think both of them. I'm pretty confident in both of them. They are weird formats in that the power levels of the cards are drastically different. Like there's some very weak cards and some very powerful cards.
Okay.
So it does matter what you open, but it also reading signals is difficult in Modern Masters. It's not so much in Origins. So I really wanted to focus on Modern Masters because I think that's the easiest format to train wreck in and just have a deck that you can't win with.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people around the field are rather than being positive about a particular format, are nervous about Modern Masters 2015.
Yeah.
And obviously we're starting with that. So what should we be looking for as viewers? Give us something to hold on to if we're watching you draft, say, tomorrow. What should we be looking for from you, if you like?
You mean like my strategy going into it, or?
Yeah, not so much in terms, because I certainly don't want you to reveal, a particular color combination or anything like that, but more a sense of, what are the pointers to see if things are going well in Modern Masters 2015.
Well, a lot of the archetypes are, there's specific cards that are focal points, like if spirits, like if you're getting late Thief of Hopes, you know that the person you right's not in that. If you're getting late affinity cards, there's a plethora of them in some packs. So if there's the pack's really deep in that, you know that no one on your right is drafting that, and you just really want to focus on those signals and make sure that you're not getting cut, because you really need powerful cards to win in that format.
Okay, testing. What's the team?
It's me, Jacob Wilson, Alexander Hayne, and Owen Turnwald.
Okay, how has that been as a group? Because 3 of those names sort of naturally go together with Face to Face, yourself and Alex Hayne and Jacob Wilson, and then you've got this on the face of it addition of Owen. So how has that been?
It's been good. Me and Owen have actually I've been in tune more with Owen than the other 2. Me and Owen prepared mostly online, bounced ideas off each other, and Alex and Jacob were at Alex's house before the WMCQ that Alex won, preparing there in person, while me and Owen mostly just played Magic Online and, bounced ideas off each other, reported results, came up with ideas, all that stuff. Yeah.
Your 2 twins, Annabella and Sophia, right? Obviously, a little bit too young still to quite understand what Daddy is doing this week. But if you could explain to them what this week is about and what it means to you, what would you tell them?
It's about proving that you belong here. I think coming here and having a poor record would be I would not be happy. I'll be happy with a decent showing, but I really want to win. I mean, being the world champion is just an unbelievable thing.
Certainly is. Who knows whether he's world champion? We already know he is the Magic the Gathering Player of the Year. Mike Sigrist, all the best this weekend.
Thanks, Rich.